a lot of things that back up the things that I'm talking about. So, keep an open mind. And I've made a few assumptions in this. I don't think they're anything wildly outrageous, but just about KM strategies and the knowledge management program is needed the strategy is needed to give the KM program a direction, and that it should be based on organizational drivers, and developing a knowledge management strategy for now and the future is sort of the name of the game. So keep those in mind as we go forward, and we'll see where we end up at the end. Now, if you've been on one of my sessions before, I like to start with a guided visualization. So today is no different. And if you're new to it, welcome. I like to start my sessions off with a guided visualization. It helps us calm down and get grounded and refresh a little bit before we plunge into the content. And so I invite you to join with me. If for some reason you're someplace that you're uncomfortable to close your eyes for this part, that's fine. Just, create a soft gaze, downward, leave your eyes open. If you have to be aware, certainly if you're driving, ignore all of this and drive, but hopefully everyone's in an office, home office or real office or cafe or something that it's safe to close your eyes and follow along. So I invite you to do that now, to get comfortable. Take a slow, deep breath and close your eyes. Now, when you're ready, and only when you're ready, open your eyes and come back into our virtual room. So thank you. I hope that you enjoyed that. We've got a moment to catch your breath. If you'd like to reflect, share your experience, feel free to do that in the chat window. We'll circle back around to those at the end of the session. As I said when we were getting started, I like to do this at the beginning of my meetings, of my workshops, of my classes, and whatever I'm doing. It helps everyone. We're so busy rushing around and going from one thing to another, and so to take 2 or 3 minutes and just catch your breath, and helps us get focused on what's about to come, whatever that is. And honestly, the meetings, I've had people stop me when I get started on this and say, oh, we don't have time. We do have time. The meetings expand to the amount of time that we give them. So taking 3 minutes away from that to do this will help ensure a better meeting, certainly. But the meeting, we have 3 minutes, and that will still cover all the things that we need to do. So I'd like to introduce you to Samantha. Samantha is a knowledge management manager. She's been KM manager for 12 years. When she was first getting started, she had a little bit of trouble getting started, had some false starts with her KM program at her organization. But things improved and she got things sorted out. And the problem she's facing right now is that her KM strategy really isn't working anymore. Things have changed so much and are changing so much. She's used this book for the last 10 years. She came across it just when it was published, and it really helped her get grounded and figure out a way forward with her KM program. But lately she's been feeling like there's something missing. And so she's trying to figure out, what's changed in the 12 years that she's been KM manager. And people are so stressed out. Connections have been broken. There's so much turnover. There's no sense of belonging. There's all this hybrid work and remote work and return to office, and people aren't happy about return to office. And, there's just all this sort of chaos about where they're supposed to be, and no sense of purpose, loss of trust. They don't know who to believe and what to believe. There's so much garbage floating around. There's no empathy or compassion. There's just all of this chaos and stress that people are dealing with in her organization and outside in their daily lives. And so this is sort of what she's faced with now in her organization and trying to find a way through. So she's looking for new ideas to address this situation and figure out how to move forward into the future and update her strategy and be able to keep her strategy updated and dealing with this ever-changing environment that they're working in, that she's working in. And so she makes a list. The first thing she does is make a list. You know, Samantha's big on lists, and so she makes a list of all the challenges she's facing, just to make sure that she's not missed anything. So when she's looking and researching, that she, you know, knows what she's looking for, to problems to solve. So she's made this list of 11 items. I suspect that some of you have these challenges in your organization as well, though maybe some of Sam's challenges are resonating. So, you know, keep this in mind. She's trying to really help the humans. She's the technology isn't that big of a deal. Yeah, AI, there's all this hype, but it's the humans that she's trying to help. And, you know, and so she makes another list of what are humans good at, you know, and creativity and empathy, emotional intelligence, all these things that the AI does not do, and, you know, is not going to do anytime soon. So, you know, she's got this second list now to keep in the back of her mind as she does research. And in her research, she discovers this idea of radical KM that this one of the authors from the book that she's been using for the last 10 years has come up with, about what's missing from knowledge management. It certainly has people, process, and technology the same as always, but there's more focus on the human side, on being playful and being creative and continuous learning and knowledge creation. You know, her program has really focused a lot in the past on knowledge capture, but rather than the question of how knowledge gets created. So she's quite excited about that aspect of knowledge creation, getting some more time in the activities and things that she's incorporating into her strategy. And the idea of continuous learning, taking a bigger piece of the puzzle. So she gets quite excited about this idea. She likes the idea too that this vision for KM that radical knowledge management talks about is sustainable and holistic. So maybe people won't be so burnt out and stressed out all the time, that it will make the organization as a whole more sustainable and holistic, help people make better decisions, and collaborate better and innovate better. So she's excited about that. Lots of things to get excited about. And she finds that, you know, radical KM is about achieving that vision for being holistic and sustainable, about making space to reflect and iterate, experiment, discover, make new connections, meet new people, share new ideas. That embedding arts-based interventions in organizations in the KM processes is really an interesting idea and an interesting way to really change how people are behaving in the organization. And when she first heard art, she thought, oh, it's going to be all painting, and she's not a painter at all. Sam is, the last thing she did was some paint by numbers as a 7 or 8 year old. So she was glad to find some examples of some other kinds of arts-based interventions that she could bring to the organization other than painting. So some drawing, some doing improv. She took an improv class once to help her with her public speaking and really enjoyed it. So the idea of bringing some improv into the organization is exciting or interesting to her. So all kinds of things that are possibilities of arts-based interventions. It's a nice wide definition of arts-based activities. So she's excited about the variety of options available. And just to prove the breadth and depth of things that Sam found, I'm going to have us take a sort of little pause here and to do a little short activity. I'm going to ask you to create a haiku. So hopefully you have a piece of paper and a pen. That's the easiest thing. If you have, certainly you can use your laptop as well or your phone. But a piece of paper and pen is probably the easiest thing to do. And then you don't lose sight of the Zoom screen. And haiku, just in case you don't know, are little Japanese poems. There are 3 lines. The first line has 5 syllables. The second line has 7 syllables, and then the third line has 5 syllables again. And I've just put a short example, or an example of one on the bottom of the slide. It's called October's Gold. And it says, like crunchy cornflakes, gold leaves rustle underfoot, beauty in decay. So I'm going to find my phone here for a second, and I'm going to ask you to give you 4 minutes and create a haiku. Any questions about that before we get started? Everybody okay on what a haiku is? 3 lines, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, 5 syllables. If English happens to not be your first language and you want to write in another language, feel free. I'm going to make a German joke and say if you're German and want to write in German, there's probably one word that would cover all 3 lines. Go ahead and do that. And I'm going to start the timer here. So 4 minutes, and write your little haiku, or even 2 or 3. We're going. The timer has started. Three, 2, 1. Good. Thank you. I hope that you were able to write something, or at least get started. Take a minute and reflect about your experience. What did you learn, if anything? What was the experience like for you? Is there a metaphor here for the problems that Samantha's trying to solve with her KM strategy, and how to move forward in the future and engage people in a different way? If anybody would like to share some reflections or share your haiku, you're welcome to do that. I'll pause here and see if anyone would like to share, and if not, then we'll move on. Is anybody going to be brave and unmute themselves and share, or no? It's okay either way. Is there anybody? Eric, do you see anybody?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Jordan, is that you?
It is. I was just thinking about how, I've got this policy for appreciating people. So I just thought, grateful for your light, hands that lift and hearts that heal, you make the world warm.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
It's just so I got this belief that you should appreciate everyone, or at least try to. So that's mine anyway.
Thank you. That's lovely. That's a lovely sentiment. I think that's a good idea. The world would be a much better place, I think, if we all lived by that. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
I wanted to share mine.
Okay.
It reads, information flows through us, the first line. Shared wisdom builds stronger teams, and innovation advances.
Very good. Thank you, Joan. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, yeah. This is self-explanatory, so I'll just let you all hear it.
Okay.
To all of us here, wish we learn something new and enjoy it too.
Thank you. I hope you do too. Good. Thank you for sharing. Those of you that shared, there's some stuff in the chat I will come back and look at a bit later on. But I'm going to move on with my slides here. So back to Samantha and her discovery of radical KM and the research that she's found and what she's thinking about doing with her strategy and her organization. And she realized as she's gone through all this research and things and this whole process of trying to figure out how to move forward, that really she's trying to change the culture, and arts-based methods are a way to give people new experiences and to change their behaviors. Those experiences really interrupt the old routines. So if she incorporates things like this in her lessons learned processes or her other knowledge capture activities, it will help generate new ideas or different things, different learnings that people might not have thought about initially. It also helps encourage collaboration and encourages trust and knowledge sharing. So she's quite excited about these ideas of arts-based methods, even though the accountant in her might be quietly in the back of her head, what art, what are we doing? But there's lots of research on the neuroscience of this, of arts, and the problems that arts-based interventions solve. They help, deal with uncertainty and this sense of urgency because they help us slow down and catch a breath. They help create this sense of purpose and meaning, help address the lack of agency, and critical thinking, help us get thinking about things differently. Again, partly because we're just slowing down a little bit and saying, oh, what might I be missing here? And help us be a little bit more engaged and less of a rush. And if you're interested in reading some more of the neuroscience, and I know some people are, there's the book, Your Brain on Art, that has lots of good stuff in it. I highly recommend that. Anyway, back to Sam and her arts-based interventions and things. And so all of this research and things, it's not really one thing, one of the use cases. There's so many use cases for arts-based interventions that she's discovered through all her research. She realizes really it's at the very top level that she wants to introduce this as part of creating a knowledge sharing culture, because all of these benefits then shower down, flow down from having this knowledge sharing culture, and they'll be more innovative. They'll have a healthier work environment. They'll be more sustainable, all stemming from the culture and the way that they move forward. So she goes back to the ISO standard and, double checks that she's right about this, that, the arts-based interventions are going to help create a knowledge sharing culture. And she ticks through that list, and yep, sure enough, this is all going to be addressed. She's going to shift the culture. It gets incorporated into the knowledge life cycle in at least a couple of places. At the front end, where knowledge is being created, where there's some maintenance and some updating going on in the middle of the cycle before knowledge gets archived or deleted at the end. So she's already thinking about where things that she can do and how it can get incorporated into their knowledge management activities. And just to be sure, for all the accounts that she works with, she drew out a process flow, help them feel a little bit happier about all this art stuff. So, and the process flow just really says, wherever we're coming together, wherever there are people, we're going to try some of these things. It could be as short as these 5-minute, activities of the haiku and the guided visualization that we did, or something else. Maybe in a longer meeting, the meetings that she's planning for creating the updated strategy, that's going to be a 2-day process. She might do some bigger things like get some painting and some other activities involved at that point. But yeah, she's got lots of ideas. Really, it is a silver bullet. She doesn't like saying that because she doesn't really believe in silver bullets. But this use of art has so many benefits. So she's kind of leaning towards calling it a silver bullet for addressing the people side of the equation and the challenges that she's faced with in her KM program in her organization. Now, she will admit to feeling a little bit, hesitant about it. The accountant in her is a little bit uncertain, despite all the neuroscience and the research that she's read. But she understands that it's okay to be afraid and that it's natural if you're doing something new. So she's, looking at bringing people in, the rest of the KM team, certainly some of the key stakeholders, do some education, do some work with them, get them on board, doing all kinds of things to help address this uncertainty. So she's excited about this, exhilarated and excited about this. She does decide to start small, like she did with her initial strategy 10 years ago. And try things out, do some pilots and see what works and what doesn't. And she understands that because she's dealing with people, some people will be more attracted to some activities more than others. They might like the improv or the poetry better than the drawing or the painting. So she wants to have a variety and test things out and see what works and what doesn't. So she's looking for some pilots, thinking about some pilots that she might run. She knows too that culture change is a marathon. This isn't a one and done thing. It's not a sprint, that this is going to take some time. That starting small is the right way to go. Build some groundswell, build some momentum, build some support, and help people change their behaviors. This is something that's going to be take the next 5 years to really get into the organization and help people, support people in the behavior change and the new things that she wants to see. So she's excited for that and will pace herself accordingly. She starts to think about creating a sort of a kickoff program to do with teams that go through some different steps to help introduce the idea and get them to where they have some confidence in doing it themselves in their teams and they're part of the organization. So she's excited about the sort of this 5-step process that she's fleshed out through the research that she's done. So all of that, all this collected, she gets ready to get down to some work and educate the implementation team and some key stakeholders, create the new strategy, so do some workshops, collect some information, some feedback, and understand really what would make people's lives easier, and understand really where the organization is with some of these ideas. She's going to create a change management or transformation plan. That's, of course, communication, training, support materials. And she starts planning out the implementation, recognizing that it's going to be iterative, that she's going to start small and collect the data and make adjustments as she goes and update the processes. But with all this research, she's quite excited about the possibilities, and also appreciates that she's got her work cut out for her. So just as she gets started on her first task, she comes across some little tidbits of information, and so she knew she was on the right path. The first one was this quote, or this information from IDC that was published in 2004, although she saw it come up in a number of both academic articles and other blog posts and things, including a Harvard Business Review article. But the earliest citation she found was in 2004, and that was that Fortune 500 companies lose a combined $31.5 billion per year from employees failing to share knowledge effectively. That was 20 years ago. She can only imagine what it might be now. So that kind of said knowledge sharing was something she should be focusing on as a way to mature KM and take KM to the next level. She also recognized that creativity is what differentiates us from AI. Let AI do the AI thing, but consciousness is not an algorithm, and so strengthening people's consciousness and awareness and their creativity is what is needed going forward. The creativity needs to be used to create the information that's going to be fed into the AI. So, and the final one that really sealed the deal for her was this quote from Sidney J. Harris, and that's the real danger is not that computers will begin to think like humans, but that humans will begin to think like computers. And she feels like that taking the step with creativity and arts-based interventions is a way to do that, to help the humans in an AI world. So I'm going to stop there. Well, just about stop there and take some questions. But I will say, too, if you want to know more, feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn or off my website. Send me an email for further learning. There's some papers out there I'm happy to share with you. If you get in touch with me, I can send you there's 5 papers. I also have a column on rework. There's stuff there. I have some classes, the one that I do with KMI next month, as well as a little asynchronous class, and I have a book list. This is just a short book list of eight of the top 8 that influenced me on Radical KM, but the full book list is almost 50 books now. So if you want that, again, feel free to reach out and get in touch for that. So now I will do some questions, and I will stop sharing my screen so that I can, see all of you. Okay. Oh, look at all the chat. Is there questions in the chat? Eric, have you been keeping a tab on the chat window for me? Is there stuff there I should take a look at?
No actual questions, though Jordan made a comment here.
Okay. Oh, share my contact. Yep, let me share the screen again. There's my contact information. So I am based in Berlin, but I'm on WhatsApp with that number. So you can send me WhatsApp, or I'm on Signal and Telegram too with that number. So or LinkedIn, reach out to on LinkedIn. So, and you can schedule a virtual coffee with me. Always happy to do that too.
I was just going to say that there's a direct correlation between countries where children play the most and innovation, i.e. Finland. There's quite a lot of papers on Finland about this. And I just think it's a very interesting thing, because you either innovate or die. And I'm talking to people from a KM perspective about they need to innovate. They need to change the way they do things to bring things to grow. So that's where I'm bringing this element of creativity into knowledge management and innovation. I'm bringing it from the innovation cycle.
That's very true, and this is where it comes in for a lot of organizations. It's kind of the easiest sell for a lot of organizations is in the innovation piece of the puzzle. So they've seen organizations like IDEO or the startup, some of the startups, or even Google, that have mixed space for these kinds of activities. And it's interesting. Sorry, I'm going to get off on a tangent. One of the authors of this book, Your Brain on Art, Ivy Ross, is actually a VP at Google. So it's encouraging to know that, and to come into this from that direction. Thanks. Anybody else? Am I okay to stop sharing my slide again? Or should I leave that up for?
There are a few questions for you, Steph, and if you want to check chat.
Okay, I'm gonna, let me see. Advice on how to take baby steps towards this approach in a highly engineered, low artistic workplace. Yeah, so start small. Start with a KM team. Start with people that you trust. A lot of times, in my experience, at least in the last few years of doing this, a big part of the problem is the stories we tell ourselves about why we can't, and so it's about telling ourselves, and that's why I put the slide in about Sam being a bit fearful of the whole thing. Is there are ways to get over that fear and to give it a shot. So try initially with the KM team. I know Eric's going to post this recording. Show them the recording, and I have lots of other recordings there too if you want other webinars and other things that I've done. So yeah, show them the papers, and start small. Start with if it's one other person, then start with one other person. Start with a guided visualization. I always encourage people to tell people that you saw this crazy woman on this webinar, and you want to try it and see what happens. Approach it as an experiment, and that you're just curious to see what happens. That's certainly how I approached it. In 2012, I think, was the first time I included any of this kind of stuff in the workshops that I was doing. I did a strategy workshop for a client, and I thought, I'm just going to see. The workshops are half a day. and people are tired. They're long, requirements analysis, understanding the current state of the organization. And I started doing them at the beginning, just a scribble drawing, actually, not the poem that we did today, doing a scribble drawing. And it was interesting to see the shift in the energy and the engagement that I got. And then the second time I did the workshop, I did them at the end, and people the first workshop that I did, people were exhausted and not looking forward to going back to their desk and facing 300 emails that had accumulated while they'd been in my session. The second group that I did this same thing, scribble drawing at the end, beginning and at the end, and people were energized. I'm like, holy cow, what happened? All it was this scribble drawing that had just totally shifted their energy. They're like skipping out of the room going, yay, I get to go back and do 300 emails that are waiting for me, and looking forward to it. And I'm like, wow, that's when I knew this stuff was powerful. If it could, shift people from dragging themselves out of the room that we'd been in back to their desk to like skipping and being happy and joyful about it, then I'm like, okay, I'm on to something here. And so, 12 years later, here we are. So hopefully that helps. Next question. I'm coming from a legal space and really trying to see how this would fit with the culture. Yeah. So some of the law firms are tough. I know some law firm KM people, and they're very curious about this stuff. I get the same kind of questions about accountants and engineers, and you would be surprised at the number of lawyers, accountants, engineers that actually do this stuff on the weekends or used to do this stuff when they were younger. And so they actually welcome it into the activities. And when it's a 5-minute guided visualization or a 5-minute scribble drawing, it's a lot easier to introduce it. And again, approach it as an experiment. You want to see. And so much of it is the stories that we tell ourselves. I've done it, like I said, in groups of engineers, which I had people say, oh no, but the engineers won't like it. The engineers loved it. Because like I say, so many of them are musicians or artists and couldn't make a living from it, so they're become software engineers, but they're really grateful. And the same, I know a woman in Toronto, Mississauga, that actually quit law to go into art full time. And so, she's always trying to get her ex-colleagues to make some more time for art. So it's a matter of finding the places where people come together and just saying, we're going to take 5 minutes and do this, at the beginning of the meeting, and just approach it with curiosity and as an experiment. So hopefully that helps. Let me see what else. Yes. Oh, good. You put the haiku in the. Thank you. I'll have to make sure I get a copy of the chat. I love those. Thank you. Any other questions there?
Did we repost the list of books that you had? Because let's see. Rum was asking for that a few minutes ago. Can you show the list of books again? I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yep, I can put the list back up.
Thank you.
Those are just sort of the top 8. As I said, the full list is about 50 books, 49 or something. But so if you want the full list, feel free to send me a LinkedIn message or an email or whatever, and ask. Just ask me for the full list. One of the ones, I think it's on there someplace. Where is it? I have it sitting on my, this one, Artistic Interventions in Organizations, so number 2, has a case study in it from a knowledge management team, actually, which is one of the reasons why I got so excited when I found it, was with the KM team, KM and innovation team with the Danish government. And they were having trouble collaborating. There were two teams. They were supposed to have created this law And over the space of 10 years, they had not created the law. There's all kinds of communication issues and politics and all kinds of things interfering in them creating this law. And so the KM team was tasked with fixing the collaboration problem between these two teams. And so they set up a studio in the offices and invited and created a facilitation process using arts-based activities and brought the two teams together, and over the course of a week solved the problem and got a draft of the law started. At least I don't think they had the whole thing drafted in a week, but certainly had the outline of what they needed to do, and broke down all the communication and all the politics and all the things that were preventing this from going forward. So people will say to me, oh, we don't have time, or art, I don't see how this is impacted from or connects to KM. I don't understand. And part of that is because it's uncomfortable, because we've been told that art and creativity is something for special people over somewhere else. That's not for us. But we are all artists. We are all creative. It's just been educated out of us by education, by our organizations, by this idea that we have to be productive, and art and taking a pause and getting some fresh air, doing some meditation, doing some art is, that's a waste of time. It's not a waste of time. It allows our brains to interact differently and move out of focused thinking into diffuse thinking, which is what's needed when you're trying to problem solve. And so, they spent 10 years in this case study of focused thinking and couldn't solve it. Well, that's was part of the problem, but in focused thinking, staring at spreadsheets, staring at PowerPoints, staring at, documentation, and couldn't figure out the law that they were supposed to be drafting. And inside of a week, yes, I'm sure that there were some uncomfortable moments in that week, but at the end of the week, they had the framework for the law. So do you want to do nothing for 10 years and stare at computer screens and not make any progress? Or do you want to be a bit uncomfortable for a week and solve the problem? I'll take a bit of discomfort for a week and solve the problem, so that then we can move forward. Thinking about what would have happened if they had done that, when they first ran into problems, maybe in the third or the fourth month, if someone had said, what, this isn't working, we need to do something different, and address these issues that we're facing between these two teams, instead of waiting for 10 years. I've had people in my sessions, say that they've been struggling with branding problems, and after doing a 5-minute scribble drawing, have figured out what they want to do. So this is, we think that it's silly, and maybe if I have time, I'll do a scribble drawing. Scribble drawings are my favorite. So I'll check the I don't want to miss any questions, but it's this voice in our head that we need to get over that says, oh no, I can't, I don't want to look silly. I don't have my clown nose. I usually have my clown nose on my desk, but I rolled away someplace. We learn better when we're having a bit of fun, and being joyful and curious, and make better connections with people, and start to trust each other. There's been so much turnover in organizations the last few years, that it's a way to have a shared experience and start building some of that trust.
So there's just a request to see the further learning list again.
Oh, sure. Yep. Oh, another way. So there's the published work, the articles. So there's 5 of them now. One of them's peer reviewed. The other 2 were just editorial board reviewed, and then the others are published in other magazines. And I have a column on Reworked. So I think there's 10 articles on Reworked now. So stuff there. And then there's the classes, the radicalkm.institute. There's a little asynchronous course, take a couple of hours to go through, and just really introduces the ideas. And then, like I said, a course with KMI next month, and we will be painting, and we will have a good time. So it's really interesting doing that. I've done the painting virtually on Zoom a bunch of times now, and the first time I did it, I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go, but it was in the early days of the pandemic, so there was just no way to meet up in person, and we did it virtually. And honestly, it was a very, very similar to the in-person classes. People asked the same questions. The only thing that was different was I couldn't walk around the table and look over people's shoulders and see what they were doing. I had to get them to hold up their paintings to the Zoom camera. But it worked out really, really nicely. I think everyone was surprised, and we have a workspace that we posted the pictures so we could watch people's progress, and it was a really nice way, worked out really well. And splitting the class over 4 half days gives some time for reflection, gives you some time to do some more layers on the painting in between, and think about this stuff and read some of the materials. So it's a nice way, and it reduces the Zoom time, because honestly, 8 hours on a Zoom is I get exhausted, so I don't know how anybody keeps taking information in. So it's easier for me in Berlin too, just because of the time change. Or the time difference, time zones. A lot of people that take it are in the States, so it makes it a little easier on me too. So it's a win-win for everybody. So I'll put those. Oh, yep.
Yeah, sorry, just 2 more questions before we sign off.
Yep. Let me go down. Have you encountered any associations of creative KM to left versus right brain thinking? I like how this approach aims to activate the potential dormant or underused right side of the brains. Okay, so the whole creativity, right brain, left brain analytical is wrong. There's a ton of neuroscience that this is not this, and it's funny because just after, I don't know, that was the 50s, I think that whole idea came out of right brain creativity and left brain analytical. Within a few years, this was disproven, and that even more so now. And it's that they work together, and it's more about diffuse versus focused thinking, and the arts-based stuff does encourage the diffuse thinking, and using different parts of the brain for sure. And that's what they talk about in this, my favorite book. And I know I've held it up like 3 times now. But it's an easy read, and the science, the neuroscience behind all of this, and the impact that art has on different parts of the brain, absolutely. There's a ton of, and that's just one book. I have some other books on the full book list. If you send me your email, I'll send you the full book list, because there's some other books that talk about the neuroscience of it. But art absolutely helps facilitate creating new pathways, as encourages the neuroplasticity of the in the brain. So absolutely. I feel like I've missed some stuff here. Have I missed stuff, Eric?
Just one more. Let's see, did you cover Alan Van de Water?
I'm part of the KM team for an IT service desk. We'll be introducing AI next month to be integrated with KM and training. How can this be applied in an area that is highly focused on IT? I still think that there's opportunities for this, especially in the creation of knowledge and the building trust between people, or among people, among teams on the service desk, and helping to make sure that what's being captured on the service desk is complete. And help people look at it from different ways a user might look at things, and help things float to the surface. So I think while there's probably less opportunity in that IT service desk environment than there would be more broadly across the organization, I still think that there's an opportunity. You're still working with people. You're still trying to encourage knowledge capture, And so there's an opportunity for bringing in some of these activities, these little things to help build the trust, to help build the connections for people, to help make sure that they're capturing what they need to capture. So, yeah, I think you know, I think it's important that people. I know AI is a big thing, and I'm definitely not going to say not to do AI, but there's some caveats to how to use it effectively, and critical thinking, and making sure that it's really doing what you need it to do, and not just accepting it. You know, bringing in the arts-based interventions helps people think more critically, and rather than just accepting what's on the page, and which is, you know, I've seen too many times and heard too many stories about people just accepting what the AI generated for them, and it was completely wrong. You know, I in the early days, I asked it what radical KM was, and it spit out a lovely answer. Sounded amazing. It was completely wrong, unsurprisingly, because, you know, radical KM is mine, and I had published one paper or two papers at that point, so it hadn't, you know, there's nothing for it to really be trained on. So it created this answer, which, like I say, was lovely and completely wrong. So, you know, I think having that, just that awareness and creating the space to ask those questions is key. And this is where the arts-based intervention stuff comes in, is help build those skills in people. Yes, lean favors experimentation over elaborate planning. Absolutely. So, and this is how I have, what I've done with a lot of my KM projects, even before I was doing any art, was quick little iterations, ask some questions, implement it. Okay, what's the next step? And this is how at HP, this was at HP, so it was a long time ago. We had 7,000 people using the technology and participating in the KM communities of practice and the knowledge capture stuff that we were doing. And just because we talked to the users and iterated. So absolutely. And so the creativity stuff helps build some confidence and some, certainty around that. I'm going to stop sharing now, I think. So, because we're just coming up to the end of our time together. So I'm glad. It looks like I'm just looking through the comments. So it looks like most people, or at least people in the comments, enjoyed it. So thank you. I'm glad. Feel free to reach out. And if you have questions or want to talk about it some more, how this can fit into your organization. I think that there's a way to bring it in everywhere and anywhere, make our organizations healthier, create a knowledge sharing culture so that we collaborate and work better together. So regardless of whether we're virtual or in person. So you got any last words for us, Eric?
Thanks so much. Thank you for giving us your time, Stephanie. We're getting a lot of great feedback here. Like I said in chat, we'll have the recording in a few days, definitely by, I want to say early next week, if not sooner. But everyone who registered will be on our list to notify. And of course, we'll tell you about your special discount that you get on the class coming up next month. But can't wait to get reconnected again with Stephanie in a few weeks and run the class, and hope a few of you can join us. So but thanks again for your time, Stephanie. Thanks. Take care, everyone. We'll be in touch, and you know where to reach us if you have questions. Thanks again, Stephanie.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.